Good morning, race fans. This is Dobbs Davis from Seahorse Magazine with your daily report for Saturday, July 13th for the 2013 Transpac race. This is the 47th running of this race, starting in 1906. This is one of the world's ocean racing classics. So, this is race day for the remainder of the Transpac fleet. There are 3 divisions starting today at 1 p.m. local time, 21 monohulls, 2 multi-hulls. Will be starting off on their 2,225-mile trip to the finish at Diamond Head. Here on the tracker, I'll come back to this in a moment, but let's have a look at who's going to be out there racing today. This photo from the 1995 start is going to look a lot like, I think, what we're going to see today. It's very competitive boats. These are going to be the top racing boats in this fleet. And here they are, Divisions 1, 2, and 3. Division 1 will be the fastest boats, fastest monohulls that is, from this year's fleet. Just taking a look here at some of the boats that stand out. Ragamuffin 100, a 100-foot design from Greg Elliott from New Zealand. That's been chartered by Sid Fisher from Australia. Sid is, of course, a well-known figure in ocean racing in the Pacific, back from Kenwood Cup days, but also certainly in Australia and beyond. He's got Ragamuffin. It's a cannon-keeled 100-foot boat, very much like Alfa Romeo several years ago that did the Transpac race. They're out to look to set a monohull record this year. Bad Pack from Tom Holthouse is going to be strong as an STP 65. The other boat to look at is Maserati. This is a Volvo 70 with a very strong team that recently completed a circumnavigation of Cape Horn. They set the record from East Coast around Cape Horn up to San Francisco. So they're certainly geared up for this morning's start to this race. Others to look at, Medicine Man. This is the only water ballasted boat out in this fleet this year. So the 3 boats that have these movable ballasts, Medicine Man, Maserati, and Ragamuffin, will not be eligible for the Barn Door Trophy. That's only eligible for fixed keel boats. So the boat to look at for that was the Barn Door Trophy winner from 2 years ago was Bellamente. That's now called Wizard, and they have a strong team on board led by Dave Askew. So they'll be looking for a Barn Door Trophy this time. The boat's reconfigured a bit. We had an interview yesterday with Dee Smith that's up on the Facebook page. For those that follow this on Facebook, have a look at that, and Dee discusses what they did on the Wizard. But anyway, this will be a very interesting class to watch. They're starting at the same time with Division 2. Now, this will be an interesting class. While these guys are going for monohull race records and outright speed, these guys are going to be racing very much amongst themselves. It's a very tight group. These are TP52s and other 52-foot boats that weren't designed to the TP52 box, but were configured for IRC. They are very fast boats, very stable boats. The design, of course, was inspired by the Transpac several years ago and has gone through many iterations. So what's very interesting, actually, is many generations of TP52s, some of the early generation boats like Lucky, and some of the latest generation boats that are a little different in their hull shapes, a little different in their configurations. I think BCOM probably best represents that. The other interesting aspect of these boats is that they'll have a variety of different sail configurations. Some of them have these masthead Genoas, which under the ORR rule system used here for Transpac has very little rating hit. You get very little penalty for having this big sail, so some of them will be having that. They may deploy those today or tonight when the angles are right. Others that don't may suffer a little bit, in not having that sail. But anyway, it'll be very interesting to see their tracks and what they do. Another outstanding entry for me is Jens Kellinghusen's Varuna 51. This is a Jason Kerr design boat, all carbon, very fast race boat, designed for offshore sailing. We did a little interview with them yesterday that I think my colleague Jeremy is going to put up on the Facebook page as well. These guys are going around the world to do the world's great ocean races. Their next stop is Australia for the Sydney Hobart in December. And after that, Jens told me he's going to be doing the Around Britain and Ireland race next year, and transatlantic and so on. So he's putting Transpac on his list of great races to do with this boat. This boat's very capable. Launched last year, not configured particularly for Transpac, but it'll be very interesting to see what they do out on the course. Now, most of these boats and a handful of the Division I boats will be racing in a new rating rule system called HPR. So besides being scored with ORR, we have this other rating system designed for high performance boats, and I'll be talking a little bit about that over the next few days. Now, Division III, this will be another interesting class because here are the sleds. These are boats that were designed and built in the late 80s, early 90s. This includes Santa Cruz 70s and some Alan Andrews designs. These are the ones that were the core of the ULDB sled class that at its sort of at its peak, I guess, was when these were the first to finish boats. These are no longer first to finish boats. The design evolution has migrated into TP52s and faster boats. But so these guys won't be first to finish, but they'll enjoy very, very close racing amongst themselves. Being a little bit slower than these other groups, they'll have a little different weather down the track, and over the next day or two we'll discuss some aspects of that are going to be very interesting for them. But I had a chance to catch up with the guys on Pyewacket last night. This is a team that really has a lot of all-stars on it when you look at it. These guys were all sailing together on all of Roy Disney's Pyewackets. They look like they're having a bit of an alumni meeting here. I looked around at the crew list and I said, well, who are the young guys that are going to be actually pulling the strings and doing the work? But they assure me they're going to be in great shape. Anyway, this is a great team, a classic team, if you will, and we'll really wish them best of luck in this year's Transpac. Last but certainly not least are the multi-hulls. We've got two multi-hulls heading out this year. The Tritium boat with John Sangmeister is a big Orma 73 trimaran. That boat, some of the race models and some of the performance models suggest that they could possibly get to the 4-day elapsed time record for multi-hulls on this course. It obviously is dependent on the weather, but the guys were telling me yesterday they were cautiously optimistic they could have a shot at that. So we'll be looking at them progressing down the track. And then Fado. Fado is a very interesting Morelli and Melvin designed gunboat 66. It's these guys have been around the planet a few times. Sorry, not a few times. They've been around the planet in various races, but lastly in the Caribbean and elsewhere. So this is a strong team. They've got some all-star multi-hull players on board that will get them to Hawaii fast, so we'll keep our eyes on them. So weather today. Here's the weather forecast from the National Weather Service. What caught my eye, of course, is right here, gale watch. It turns out that's not applying for today. Today's breeze is going to be, I will say, sort of more or less normal for July. Some June and July gloom out there, a little bit of overcast that's going to burn off later this morning and just give us a light westerly breeze. Our guesses are 10 knots or so. We'll get them off of the start here off Point Furman and out around the west end and down the track. So nothing outstanding there. We did see that a little further offshore when you look at the Points Conception to Guadalupe Island forecast, they get out beyond 120 and you start to get a little bit better breeze than we saw with the start on Thursday, and that poor group that really had a tough time getting off the coast. 10 to 15 knots, increasing tonight to 10 to 20, and then tomorrow 15 to 25. So in the big picture, if we look at here with this really good weather online, this is I really recommend everybody who wants to look at the weather to have a look at this this synopsis of what's going on in the Northeast Pacific. My friend Ken Campbell from Commander's Weather shared this link with me, and it's really quite good because you can see the progression of how the high changes in size and shape through what Ken reckons is really the best model out there now. He's not very happy with some of the U.S. models. He says they're not being funded very well due to recent changes in priorities at NOAA's funding climate. So this is a European-based model that he says is actually quite good, and as he says, is the gold standard now. So 66 hours out. Actually, I'll go back a little bit, but you can see basically that the high 48 hours from now at 10:36, and with this relative compression of isobars, is what's going to cause the increase in breeze along the coastal areas here. Just for reference, here's Hawaii here, LA area here, so our Transpac track is right basically across here. So the progression of this feature is very interesting. I'm going backwards in time now to show how just later today the high is fairly large but not very strong, and we see it strengthening going to 10:32 and even later up to, I believe, 10:36. There it is, 48 hours from now. So this is going to increase the breeze for the boats starting today, and actually probably even affect some of the boats that are out on the track already. Speaking of which, let's go to those guys and see how they're doing. So we go to our yellow brick tracker and zoom in. Here's our Division 7 and 8 fleet. They started on Monday, got a great start off the track. There's Manatea still out in the lead, still doing 8 knots, really progressing well. You can see the breeze is shifting around more to the east from northeast, so they're lifting up above rumline now. They've crossed rumline, most of them, and are progressing well down the track. Here's our 2 Japanese entries, 10 quarter and Kyo. These guys are only a couple of miles apart. They obviously are pushing each other hard. I've been watching them over the last few skeds, and these guys are actually really doing well. They're kind of fulfilling what I said yesterday, which is that they, in pushing themselves, are actually doing quite well on the rest of the fleet. So we're going to see them progress, I think, quite nicely over the next few days just by having the little match race that they're having. Here's another little match race between Dorade and Westward. This is the classic match race. These boats are very old boats, wood boats. Westward from the late 50s, early 60s, and Dorade, of course, classic S&S design from 1930s, and they won the Transpac race actually in 1936. So this is got to be a great race these guys are having. We'll scroll out now and have a look at our fleet. There we are. Have a look at our divisions 4, 5, and 6, who started on Thursday and got that rough start coming off the coast. Here we go. Anyway, their tracks are straightening out now. They're getting a little bit better breeze off the coast. You can see that all the wiggles in their track from yesterday and that first night out are changing now to being straighter tracks. They're getting into the stronger breeze. They're now west of 120, which was really important for getting out into these off this coastal area here and out into the stronger pressure along the California coast offshore. So their boat speeds are now 10 knots rather than yesterday's 6 and 7 knots. So they're actually progressing quite nicely. Out in the lead here is the Rogers 46 Brett Walla. I think we had a position, no, actually it was from Varuna. We had I was shared with an email for them. There's Varuna there. They said by sat phone they wanted to go to sleep, that they would write more later. So I think that these guys are working hard, reaching down the track. The breeze they have is quite nice, 340 degrees, 16 knots. So 340 degrees in the wind direction, and a 255 course means 115 degrees true wind angle. So headsail reaching, which is quite typical for usual Transpacs at this stage in the race. So they're going quite fast. Here is another leader, Horizon. These guys are kind of the favorites amongst the Santa Cruz 50s. They've won the race twice. They've popped out from the pack from their position yesterday and are showing why they lead. These guys work pretty hard and are now in a fight with boats very close to them. Prevail was another one that was we kind of predicted was a favorite because they were the top scoring Santa Cruz 52 from the 2011 race. So they're punched out in front. But one that's interesting, and I wanted to point this out, if I can get there we go, are the cross-tracking tracks that we see here. So for example, here you see Alpha Puppy, One Design 35, a huge change in course that occurred about 12 hours ago. And of course, why do they do this? Well, they either set a spinnaker or set some sort of sail that I'm sure sped them up, but also caused this big dive to the south. But they're going fast. 8.3 knots and a One Design 35 is pretty good speed. Maybe probably not a spinnaker, maybe a code 0 that they set, and they're headed south and fast. The other one that did a big change of course was here. If you look at this purple track down along here, this is Criminal Mischief, Reichel Pugh 45. This is quite a fast boat. They yesterday were stuck up above San Nicolas Island. If we go backwards in the tracker a little bit and we look at how they changed back in time. Actually, I'll scroll out. Hopefully this will, there we go. Go back to our fleet here. Sorry about that. But the Criminal Mischief was part of that group that was very close to San Nicolas Island and looked like they were struggling to get around San Nicolas. It was a very strange track, of course, because of the breeze that everybody had back then. Here we go, back in time. And as they went forward, they got around that island. Eventually, they got around the island, got in the good breeze, and then, here we are, sorry, we jumped over. Struggling a little bit with my controls this morning, sorry about that. But anyway, they got around San Nicolas Island, started to pick up speed, reached up again, and then there's San Nicolas Island, got around, reached up, then started picking up speed. Anyway, now they are going quite fast, made a big change in course, they're diving to the south. So Criminal Mischief having a little different strategy based on what their sail plan is, but going quite fast. So that's our report for the moment. I wanted to discuss the weather in a little bit more detail based on Ken Campbell and his discussions. He's been hired by the Pyewacket team, so he's not at liberty to discuss, and so therefore nor am I, but it is quite interesting. I think we'll bring that into tomorrow's show because of the synopsis of the high and what it's going to do and how that's going to really affect the group that's out there racing today. So thanks again for tuning in. I'm Dobbs Davis from Seahorse Magazine, and join us again this time tomorrow for tomorrow's Sunday, July 14 report.